Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Huber begins now.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. National Cabinet has officially agreed on a major change to the way close contacts are defined in Australia, and in a significant shake-up to testing requirements, rapid antigen tests will be accepted for travel into Tasmania from January 1 as the state records 92 new coronavirus cases, an all-time high.
As the state's coronavirus cases grow, so does the queue at testing clinics. These lines at the Hobart Showgrounds causing headaches for authorities, but it's hoped changes to testing requirements for inbound travellers will help ease the burden.
The RAT test will be available where we have testing pressures in the south immediately, and we'll be establishing 2 specific RAT test collection sites, with one to open later today at Rugby, the other will be at Glenorchy and is planned to open tomorrow.
In 2 days' time, travellers from high-risk areas will be able to use a rapid antigen test within 24 hours before entering the state and when they've been exposed to the virus.
Which is when they develop symptoms or when they become aware that they could be a contact of a case.
Among the changes Tasmanians can expect is to the definition of a close contact, agreed upon at today's National Cabinet meeting.
You're only a close contact if you are effectively living with someone or been in an accommodation setting with someone more than 4 hours with someone who has actually got COVID.
Coming into effect from January 1 as Tasmania's COVID tally reaches almost 400 and community transmission for 50% of cases, concerns have been raised about the state's preparedness.
We also know that our population is extremely vulnerable compared to other states. We don't think that the government has adequately prepared for COVID here in Tasmania.
There is a strong sense in the community right now that Peter Gutwin has abandoned the people of Tasmania to Omicron.
Day one, I've relied on the health advice and I will continue to do so. And that advice at the moment very clearly is to stick with the plan that we have rolled out.
4 mass vaccination clinics set to open from January 10 to help protect more Tasmanians from the virus. Ainsley Kosh, 7 Tasmania News.
Bright, bubbly and overrun with love. That's how Jalela Jane Marine Jones's family has described one of the victims of the Hillcrest tragedy. Dozens gathered to remember the 12-year-old today as she was laid to rest.
A Hawks fan, a keen singer and a caring sister. Just some of the traits Jalela Jones was known for as tributes were read out in her honour.
The love and protection you showed for your family, especially your little brother, was beyond words. You would make sure he was in class and organised and come to me saying, "I have delivered him safely," with a cheeky look on your face.
Family and friends gathering to mourn the loss of Jalela, affectionately known as JJ.
Typical of a 12-year-old girl, she loved getting her nails done and that was a top priority. She also loved to play with different hairstyles, a real poser, and loved to take lots of selfies on her iPad.
The 12-year-old was one of 6 children killed when a wind gust blew the jumping castle she was on into the air a fortnight ago, while 2 children have been recovering in the Royal Hobart Hospital.
One child has now been discharged and the other child, I understand that the plan is in place to discharge them next week as well.
Tomorrow, the Devonport City Council will collect the flowers, teddy bears and cards left here and will work with the families of the victims to create a permanent memorial, ensuring they'll always be remembered even though their lives were cut short. Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmania News.
A total fire ban is in place for the entire state for tomorrow and New Year's Day. Forecast hot temperatures have lifted the fire danger rating to very high and potentially severe in some parts of the state. Authorised fireworks displays for New Year's Eve will be allowed to go ahead, while anyone who has had a campfire in recent days needs to make sure it's fully extinguished by 2 a.m. After a quieter end to 2020, Tasmanians are gearing themselves up for a much more traditional New Year's Eve this year. But police are reminding everyone to stay safe as they look to send the year off with a bang.
Locked and loaded, promising to put on a show for those ready to see 2021 go up in smoke.
Lots of spectacular big shells, as we have done in previous years, and we also have some special water shells that will shoot out of the water and explode as well.
While many still gathered at the waterfront last year, New Year's Eve is said to look a little more lively in Hobart with the return of the taste.
Certainly was no one out where we were when we were firing in the middle of the water. There was just no one around, but people were watching from afar, whereas we'll be closer to land, so more vantage points for more people to see the fireworks display properly again.
But as always, the fun comes with a reminder from police.
We understand that 2021 has been a difficult year for everyone and they're going to want to celebrate moving into 2022. However, you've got to understand that your behaviour may impact on other people and members of the community.
Ramping up patrols and increasing their presence in coastal communities
to deter disorderly and violent behaviour.
Now hoping for a safe, happy and much more normal new year. Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
Labor is calling on Premier Peter Gutwein to regulate Tasmanian fuel prices, claiming Hobart motorists fork out the highest average cost for unleaded fuel in the country, paying around $1.78 at the Bowser.
He was waiting for there to be a trigger point when fuel just became far too more expensive and out of step with all other states in Australia. We believe that that's long overdue and it's time to step in and ease that pressure on the household.
The state government says it will consider implementing fuel price legislation when necessary. Kids of all ages can meet their sporting heroes and get active while parents relax at the Taste of Summer Festival, with two of the state's biggest sporting teams uniting to host a family fun day on January 3.
They'll have a bat, they'll have a bowl. We've got a couple of installations that we'll bring that the kids can have a play with, testing how fast they bowl, having a bit of a bat at the same time. I'm sure they'll be able to go and shoot a few hoops.
I think both of our sporting clubs are doing a fantastic job down here at the moment. We're getting great crowds and there's a great family atmosphere, and this is just an extension of that.
For more details, visit the Taste of Summer website. In the final instalment in our series of special interviews with the state's political leaders, tonight Meg Sides sits down with Premier Peter Gutwein as he reflects on the highs and lows of the past year. From making a call on Tasmania's borders, election drama and scoring the ashes for our state.
2021 as described by Tasmania's Premier.
It's been a productive year, but a challenging year.
Pulling the election trigger a year early.
We were plunged back into minority government, and I've made it perfectly clear that, in Tasmania, minority governments simply don't work. And it was important, especially under the circumstances that we're in, that we were able to provide strong majority government, and so I called that election.
Coming out all guns blazing in the days leading up to the vote.
If I'm not in the Premier's chair after Saturday night, I will resign.
The result closer than he would have liked.
At the end of the day, it was very close, but as I've said, a one-seat majority is a majority.
Ultimately securing a historic third term for the Liberal Party.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what a night.
But it wasn't smooth sailing on the campaign trail. Candidate Adam Brooks faced with a series of catfishing allegations.
I've got more important things to worry about than Mr Brooks's love life.
Despite being elected, he never took his seat.
If present and wishing to speak, Adam Brooks.
Resigning shortly before the polls were declared, faced with a range of charges from Queensland Police. Peter Gutwein standing by his handling of the saga.
On reflection, the conversations that I was having with Adam, I could only take him at his word, and he continued to provide confirmation in terms of his view of that matter.
But the Premier's biggest battle has been the pandemic. Tasmania's coronavirus vaccine rollout beginning earlier this year.
There you go. Too easy.
In October, the south of the state was plunged into a snap 3-day lockdown. A COVID-positive man leaving hotel quarantine and lying about his movements in the community.
It was a difficult decision, but at the time, in terms of where we were in respect of vaccination, it was the right decision to make.
Tasmania now in what the Premier describes as a transition period. Our borders reopened, the state learning how to live with COVID.
Yeah, and I think in terms of certainty, for Tasmanians to know where we were heading, it was the right decision.
While it's been a big year for sports in the state, scoring the 5th Ashes Test and the launch of the Tasmania Jack Jumpers.
I'd have to say, and I'm an AFL fan, But I attended that first match that they played, and I can confidently say that it was the most exciting sporting spectacle that I've ever been at.
Now hoping to keep the momentum going with an answer on an AFL licence due next year. Looking ahead to what else 2022 has in store. Next year, I think, obviously we need to work our way through this transition period, but the opportunities for Tasmania are so rich at the moment. You know, in terms of hydrogen and renewable energy, we have a moment. While rumours are circling that his deputy has plans to step away from politics.
Has he spoken to you about that at all?
Look, Jeremy's in for the long haul.
As for the Premier's own future,
it would be my intention to be Premier right through and lead to the next election.
And professional goals aside,
do you have a New Year's resolution?
I want to get a little fitter.
Next Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
Ben McDermott has smashed sixes and records in last night's Run Fest in Melbourne. The Hurricanes, look at that score, 5 for 206, thumping the Melbourne Renegades by 85 runs. McDermott the hero. And keep an eye out for Tim David's cameo at the end of the innings. McDermott marched to the crease on the back of his second Big Bash century just 2 days earlier, but it was clear he wanted a third.
The first 6 of the innings.
We were just getting started. McDermott had 9 in store.
Skill and game and power.
Words an awestruck crowd would utter again and again as Marvel marvelled at the most sublime of Big Bash smashes.
McDermott's. That's our Big Ben. Ellie, look out. He's clocking the Renegades.
He was even hitting them into the second tier. The budget seats suddenly became front row.
Goodbye.
There was still time for craft. Not every highlight had to clear the rope, but most of them did.
Hurricane Ben has done it again.
The first player to score back-to-back tons and the first to score 3 centuries in the competition's 11-year history. If only he and Tim David had more time.
Goliath at one end, David at the other. Sixes after sixes.
David smashed 4 of them off just 9 balls. At the end, McDermott sacrificed his streak, trying for one last run. He shouldn't have wasted the energy. The Renegades were a rabble.
Oh, trouble. He's done it again.
Yeah. Oh, no. 2 in 2 balls.
The Hurricanes winners by 85 runs to jump to 3rd on the table. McDermott now impossible to ignore when next year's T20 World Cup comes around.
It'd be great to be there and be amongst another World Cup winner. Looked pretty fun.
Christmas Carnival veteran Morgan Gaffney has surged to her 2nd Devonport gift title on a wave of emotion. The Somerset local says she was running to make her late mother proud, someone who would never miss a race. Ever the professional, Morgan Gaffney had her pre-race routine down to a fine art. But on the inside, this carnival meant so much more. The Somerset speedster would have barely felt the ground as she vanquished the rivals to her right. The backstory made the finish a foregone conclusion, especially when you see the sheer emotion, a race she ran for her mother who died earlier this year.
She never missed a race. I just wanted to come out and make her proud, and I think I did that.
The adrenaline covered the excruciating effort.
Every part of my body was screaming, but every other girl in the race is probably feeling the same.
The 4-time Bernie Gift winner will go up against junior Tori Lewis at West Park, who won the 70 metres overnight.
Worked on my start a little bit because I knew that was what was going to set me apart if I wanted to win.
Stuart McSwain may have been the crowd's pick given his Olympic stardom, but winning a mile from scratch is never a sure bet. Admitting he wasn't as sharp following a post-Tokyo quarantine, McSwain finished in the field. The title clinched instead by Hobart's Gus Tomlinson-Smith. The women's mile was won by a 16-year-old. Sophie Connolly from Hobart held off the contenders to snap up the sash. In the men's gift, 19-year-old Tom Perry in the green gave a blistering performance, a race he had specifically pencilled in.
It's going to be Tom Perry!
Set a goal that we want to win another big 400, and we highlight this race as my coach has never won it, and oh my God, it feels so good.
And in the wheel races, Darwin-born Meg Marker had that killer instinct coming out to the final corner. New to the elite category, Marker truly left her mark when she passed Lauren Perry.
Once I was on her wheel, yeah, it took a bit of energy, but got past just.
And what a performance in the men's. Backmarker Tom Cornish smashed the pedals on the final lap to win the wheel, and wasn't he thrilled by it?
It was sort of my plan from the start to jump on the back and see if I could survive until the end.
An outstanding finish to the night of action. A short time ago, Launceston's Lauren Perry and South Australian Chloe Moran won the Women's Madison at the Launceston Carnival. Earlier today, the Silverdome hosted the national elimination final for the first time, where the slowest rider from each lap is knocked out of the race. The women saw a local favourite hang on in a nail-biter, Georgia Baker, claiming the title over a fellow Olympian, Western Australia's Alex Manley.
Driving to the line, your national champion, Georgia Baker.
Victorian Graham Frisley had a happy return to the Silverdome. He added today's elimination title to his haul after winning the Launceston Wheel on Tuesday. Penguins' Dalton Stretton finished third. The Carnival Series heads to Burnie tomorrow night. And finally, in sailing, Lord Jiminy has taken line honours in the Melbourne to Hobart yacht race, sailing to shore less than an hour ago. Meanwhile, Tasmanian boat Sidewinder is on course to make history as the Sydney Hobart's first winner of the race's two-handed division within the hour.
Good evening. 27 in Launceston today, Hobart 23, 22 in Burnie and Devonport 20. 30 was the state's top in Ouse, Grove 28 and Strawn 19. On the close-up shows patches of cloud across the east and north with sunny skies elsewhere. Further out, an active area of cloud with embedded storms can be seen inland over WA and Queensland. Tomorrow, troughs persist to the west and north of the country with a more intense low sitting over Queensland. Northwesterly winds tomorrow 10 to 20 knots, reaching 30 knots about the south. Swells up to 3 metres in the west and south and below 1 metre in the north. A strong wind warning is current for the upper east coast, southeast coast and southwest coast. And a very high fire danger is forecast for the central north, Midlands and upper Derwent Valley. Tomorrow's forecast now mostly sunny across Hobart and Huonville, Campania 31. In the north, 32 in Launceston, Devonport and Georgetown, mostly sunny. Burnie and Wynyard tomorrow sunny, Strawn 23. 30 in St Helens and mostly sunny about Swansea and Port Arthur. The UV forecast is extreme 11s across the state. Looking ahead to the 3-day forecast now, Saturday, partly cloudy with a chance of showers about western, central and southeastern areas. Sunday, showers with possible thunderstorms during the afternoon. And Monday, fine apart from the chance of showers about the east, central and southern areas. Capital cities, 31 and sunny in Perth tomorrow. Adelaide, 39 and a possible shower in Darwin. And currently Hobart mostly clear and 17, Launceston 22 and Devonport clear and 19. That's all in weather tonight, Lou.
Beautiful. Thank you for that, Jackie. And that's all your news for now. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.